What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Dr.DDub here, and welcome to probably the most dense Subnautica episode I have ever or will ever record. Don't worry, this is not taking the place of a normal Subnautica episode as indicated by it going up on a Tuesday. But today we're going to do what I've been talking about for a while, and that is go through every entry in our databank. We're probably going to be rereading some we've already read, just to make sure we're thorough. I'm going to be better about reading these as we encounter them moving forwards, just so we don't have to do another episode like this. But I want to read all this stuff, and in case there's anything in there that you guys are interested in, I want to make a video of it. I don't promise this is going to be entertaining. That is not the goal of this. But if you are interested at all in the lore of this game, or about the plants or animals or flora and fauna, I think as they're called in this databank, then feel free to listen. This is not going to be exciting to watch. You might be interested in hearing what's in here, so feel free to put your phone down or look away from your laptop or desktop or whatever you're viewing this on and just listen, because there's really not going to be much to see. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into this. I've got a cup of water here to hopefully help me get through this. Let's do this. Advanced theories. Alien eggs. Evidence suggests that a substantial number, if not all of the local species, reproduce through egg laying. Eggs can be found resting on the seafloor, buried beneath detritus, or even wedged into cracks in the rock. Different species likely favor different biomes as their nesting grounds. Eggs discovered in the wild are in some form of natural stasis, likely awaiting ideal conditions in which to hatch, or the delivery of some vital enzyme which will kickstart the process. It is impossible to calculate the species of egg from the exterior. However, it may be possible to stimulate a hatching response if an egg is relocated to a suitable alien containment unit. And I'm pretty sure that containment unit is something we can craft. Where would it be? I'm not going to do this for every entry. I just kind of want to make sure I'm understanding everything. Alien containment. Yes, that. Cool, moving on. Specimen with symptoms of infection. This organism is displaying signs of a bacterial infection. Bright green blisters are forming networks around the infection sites. Pathology suggests a waterborne bacterium capable of penetrating the body through the skin and respiratory system. Underlying indications of genetic mutation and aggressive behavior. The bacterium itself is unlike any so far recorded in human exploration. Warning, may be contagious. Avoid. Do not under any circumstances consume the flesh. And we've actually seen this a couple times. Any creature with like green dots all over it, it's got some sort of infection, and that must be what the aliens were talking about. About the planet being infected. Cool. That is 1/7 of our entries, or at least 1/7 of the categories. Moving on to our blueprints. Equipment. Air pumps. Air pumps can be used to pipe breathable air to a remote location. The base-attached air pump can be built at a compatible habitat and will source oxygen delivery from the habitat's oxygen generator. The floating air pump must have access to breathable air and be floating on the water's surface. Pumps must be connected to a pipe chain to function. I still don't know why we would use these. I probably won't ever. Creature decoy. This advanced deployable is a catch-all solution for mimicking the behavior of a living creature for purposes of scientific research and predator evasion. Vibrates, cycles air and water, and sends out randomized high-frequency sound waves to emulate a living organism. May be hand-placed or launched from compatible Cyclops submarines. Short onboard battery provides limited lifespan, and it attracts predators of all kinds. The handheld scanner, which we know and love. The essential science and survival tool. The scanner can be used to add new blueprints to memory and analyze unknown entities. It emits electromagnetic radiation in the specified direction, which is reflected by the environment and then analyzed to determine the physical makeup of the targeted objects. It has 4 primary functions. First of which, blueprint acquisition. Record the physical parameters of scanned technologies to add their blueprints to the PDA databank. These blueprints may then be constructed at the appropriate fabricator. The scanner is also equipped to break down damaged or otherwise useless devices into their base metals for salvage purposes. Organism analysis. The scanner will attempt to match scanned organisms against the onboard database. If no match is found, then the species will be assigned an easy-to-remember name, and a new databank entry will be created. Your PDA's AI will also attempt to synthesize theories on behavioral tendencies and evolutionary origins where possible, as well as deliver assessments on how to best approach them. Medical analysis. Scanning any living organism will display basic information on their state of health on the scanner's HUD. This information will be limited without access to a network database. Self-scan. The user may run a self-scan to determine their own physical well-being. The scanner will search for foreign bacteria and other signs of ill health, and compare with available data to provide a diagnosis. The Altera Spectroscope Scanner. Understanding the world so you don't have to. And the Lightstick. This actually seems kind of cool. Lightstick, a mobile battery-powered LED light which provides low-level lighting in a 360-degree area and can be attached to most surfaces. I wonder if we could use this to light up an area we're currently exploring instead of having to use our flashlight constantly. It's still battery-powered, so I'm not sure how much of a difference that would make, but we'll look into that. Propulsion cannon. The propulsion cannon allows technicians to manipulate gravitational forces at ranges of up to 20 meters. It is commonly used in construction and mining to move materials. Operating instructions. Pull the trigger once to lock and attract a single targeted object weighing less than 25 kilograms. The object can now safely be retrieved from the gravitational beam. Alternatively, pull the trigger a second time to propel the object at speed away from the device. Not recommended for use on organic subjects. The prop cannon. Some species are telekinetic. For everyone else, there's Altera. The radiation suit. This suit fully protects against the effects of radiation during land, sea, and space exploration. Safety rated for up to 400 SVs per hour. Cross-compatible with all AEP suit functionality. Sleek. The radiation suit, a necessary precaution in a post-MAD world. Reinforced dive suit. This suit is reinforced with synthetic fibers to reduce incoming physical and thermal damage. Shock absorption reduces physical impact velocity by approximately 50%. It's rated for temperatures up to 70 degrees. Disclaimer, you are not invulnerable while wearing this suit. The reinforced dive suit. Why take chances when you can take Altera? I love these little one-liners about Altera at the end. They're kind of funny. The repair tool, which we've used since like day one. The repair tool can be targeted at any common device, control panels, habitat modules, radios, etc., to stitch wires and seams back together at the atomic level. All good technicians keep one of these under their pillow. Most people don't care why it works, just that it saved their life that one time. But in case you're curious, it combines scanner and fabricator technologies to determine the proper specifications for the targeted object, and then rearranges the available physical material to match the original specs. The Altera Repair Tool. Get your fix. And the Stasis Rifle, which I'm hoping to build soon. This could be really helpful against some large predators. The Stasis Rifle. The Stasis Rifle uses patented technology to slow time around an entity to as near to a full stop as the laws of physics will permit, essentially anchoring the target in place without affecting its internal workings. It is designed to facilitate scientific and engineering operations by expanding the window of opportunity for action in time-sensitive scenarios. The Stasis Rifle features an independent, replaceable power cell, and the trigger may be held down to increase the area of effect and duration. Common applications include slowing fast-moving mechanisms such as fan belts to facilitate maintenance operations, temporarily incapacitating organisms for research purposes, and navigating perilous spaces by freezing potential threats. NB may not function correctly on larger life forms. The Altera Stasis Rifle. Life's fast. Why not put it on pause? And last but not least, for our equipment, the time capsule. These sturdy containers are designed to store written and photographic evidence for later retrieval, in addition to a number of small items. Time capsules are often fabricated by marooned survivors seeking either to aid those who find themselves in the same predicament in the future, or to leave evidence of their plight which may be found long after their bodies have disintegrated. Most emergency escape vehicles are equipped with a time capsule by default, usually found in the cockpit, and be jettisoned on takeoff. Altera requests time capsules be stocked with tools and resources which will aid those who may discover them in the future. That's really cool. We found a couple of those all in that one area, which we did a little bit of exploring of last episode. Alright, habitat installations. The aquarium. The aquarium is designed to hold and sustain up to 8 small aquatic organisms and fits inside a regular multi-purpose habitat room. Aquatic creatures make up 70% of all known species, making the aquarium a commonly deployed tool in many exploratory operations. It is just as often used to house livestock for later consumption as it is to hold specimens for xeno research. An automated environment regulation system means there's no need to feed or care for your subjects. And B, due to its size, the regular aquarium is not rated for breeding applications, and creatures are highly unlikely to mate. Construct a full-size alien containment unit for this purpose. Cool, so this is purely decorational, or to house fish so they don't go bad until you eat them. That's cool. I'll probably put one of those in our captain's quarters that I have yet to make, but plan on doing soon. The bulkhead door is designed to separate compartments while reinforcing structural integrity with its solid titanium frame. The door can be opened and closed to seal off compartments in the event of fire or flooding, or simply for privacy. The exterior grow bed is an advanced synthetic soils allow this grow bed to support a huge variety and quantity of alien plant life, and it can be installed anywhere on land or underwater where there is space. Fabricator. Fabrication technology is the power to rearrange matter at the atomic level. It was the catalyst behind the Great Expansion and remains the backbone of the modern world. Fabricators come in all shapes and sizes, but the most common are small enough to be wall-mounted and are used for everything from constructing everyday implements to cooking dinner. It is common today for households to keep a store of genetic base materials on hand for any eventuality. The floodlight, which we have one of these right next to our exterior grow beds. The standard issue floodlight is designed to focus a bright beam of light in a single direction, useful in all kinds of industrial and emergency operations, functions in all known environments. Habitat Builder. The Altera handheld habitat builder has been an essential tool of xenoscientists, colonists, and emergency relief crews across 11 different transgovs for more than 50 years. Habitat modules are hermetically sealed from the outside environment. Built on land, underwater, or in a vacuum, habitats can be enhanced to become long-term homes, remote research stations, defensive outposts, and more. Quick Start Guide. Select the basic compartment from the Builder menu and place it somewhere opportune. 2. Add a hatch to access the compartment. 3. Build a solar panel to power the habitat's oxygen generator. 4. Construct useful interior modules like radios, rechargers, and storage solutions. Primary habitat systems like oxygen generation and flood control, as well as modules like the Fabricator, draw power and will not function without it. Additional compartments reduce overall hull integrity depending on the external pressure. Quick build habitats. A home far, far away from home. That's a cool note though. Additional compartments reduce overall hull integrity, which we've seen just by expanding our base, depending on external pressure. So the deeper you build your base, the greater an effect building the same component will have on your overall hull integrity. So building something that takes 3 hull integrity, if you build that at the bottom of the ocean, will take quite a bit more of your hull integrity, which makes sense. It's very realistic in that sense. The interior grow bed, designed for use exclusively inside regulated habitat modules, the interior grow bed is more compact than the outdoor version and features a hydroponic nutrient delivery system. And the modification station, where the standard fabricator automatically rearranges raw materials to form complex devices, the mod station is able to combine complex devices to enhance their own function. Most industrial vessels are fitted with a complement of equipment modification stations, which enable engineers to adapt their tools on the fly. To conserve hard drive space, the modification station is excluded by default from most personal emergency blueprint libraries. However, extreme environments such as ocean and desert-class planets may necessitate the adaptation of basic survival tools for unanticipated applications. You don't say. For this reason, access to a mod station is always recommended. Moonpool. The Moonpool is an essential module for long-term exploration. Its primary function is as a dry dock for small vehicles such as the Seamoth and Prawn Suit. The large central chamber contains a pressurized pool which provides ready access to the surrounding waters and comes as standard with equipment for raising and recharging a vehicle. When outfitted with a vehicle modification station, the Moonpool can be used to build and equip vehicle upgrades. Ratings: dimensions 16 meters by 10 meters by 5 meters, connection points 6, one at the front, one at the back, and 2 on either side. Habitat hull strength liability at sea level, -5, equivalent 4 rooms. Wow. Capacity 1 Seamoth or Prawn Suit, and it has high power consumption. So if we want a Prawn Suit, we'll have to build a second Moonpool, which for our current base could be really cool to do if we expand our base down the cliffside at the very bottom. Because I think you walk on the seafloor with a Prawn Suit, so that could be really cool. Planters and pots. Interior planters come in a variety of configurations and allow for most plant species to be grown in small numbers for decorative or botanical use. The scanner room. I'm actually interested to see what this does. The scanner room. This advanced habitat module can transform a small outpost into a burgeoning science and exploration station. A 3D display in the center of the room stores local topographical data. System can scan for and pinpoint particular materials. That's handy. Remotely controlled drones scan the area up to 500 meters in range. Wall-mounted camera feeds allow for live control of scouting drones. Upgrade console may be used to enhance the module's functions. That's awesome! So we can find resources near us with this thing and look for specific ones, which makes sense as to why we would want remote research outposts. We could go build one of these and a couple eye compartments for storage and stuff near an area we're exploring and just completely exhaust the area of resources and then schlep them back and forth using our using Cora, our Seamoth, or eventually the Cyclops that we'll eventually be getting to transport materials. That would be a much more efficient way of harvesting materials. That's awesome. Solar panel. Solar panel is the most prevalent power source in the galaxy, and so it is no accident that the standard solar panel is the default means of powering a habitat. A power source is a requirement of habitat oxygen generators and other onboard modules. It provides limited power for small outposts and survival habitats, may be mounted on or near the habitat itself or placed remotely and connected via power transmitters, and it has a power rate relative to sunlight exposure. So the closer to the surface it is, the more power it can produce. The Spotlight, a permanent lighting solution developed for installation on existing habitats and facilities, automatically rotates on a 180-degree arch. Motion sensitive, will track nearby moving objects, and it draws electricity from main power. The water filtration system, which we should probably add at some point. The water filtration system draws water unfit for human consumption from an external source, automatically splits it into its constituent parts, and outputs consumable liquid water and salts while disposing of any harmful byproduct. It can be built in any compatible habitat module, but has substantial power requirements. The Altera water filtration system. Any liquid into pure, refreshing, pH-balanced water? Yes, sir. Any liquid. That is an infinite source of salt and water, if I'm not mistaken. That's really cool. We don't have a huge use for salt right now, but maybe we will in the future, and that will be even more important. All right, power. We need to build one of these soon. We are running into a lot of power issues at our current base. We could add more solar panels, or we could add a bioreactor, nuclear reactor, or thermal plant, although I don't think that's going to work. And I definitely just bit my tongue as I was saying that. The bioreactor. On planets where organic matter is plentiful but sunlight is not, a reliable bioreactor will frequently provide the most efficient power solution. It may be installed in any multi-purpose habitat room. It chemically composts organic materials, converting them into energy over time, accepts all plant matter from seeds and spores to moldy fruits and vegetables. It can also produce animal matter, fat, muscle, and eggs. Process animal matter. In some organic waste products, energy production is proportionate to the calories in the organic matter. That could be cool to add right next to our nursery and just take some of those plants every so often and fill this thing up and get more power. That might be something we do very soon. The nuclear reactor. Renewable energy sources will usually be sufficient for maintaining a small outpost. For everything else, there's nuclear power. Powered by up to 4 replaceable uranium reactor rods. Do not attempt to replace reactor rods without a full radiation suit. Do not attempt to overclock the reactor. Nuclear is ideal for energy-intensive operations such as self-sufficient colonies supporting more than 20 people, industrial outposts operating multiple docks and heavy machinery, and research stations housing live specimens. Interesting. I don't think we have a need for that quite yet, but maybe we will soon. The thermal plant. The first rule of survival in hostile environments is to work with the resources available. If it's 800 degrees outside and you're in danger of burning to death at any moment, you may as well get some cheap, reliable energy out of it. It converts heat energy into electricity. Always take thermometer readings before attempting installation. Core mechanisms are housed in a heat-resistant chassis, but are not impervious to extreme temperatures. The thermal power plant. It's hot. This could be really useful to build in that mushroom cave, like we're in right now, where those thermal vents were. That's really neat. And that does it for power. Let's get into vehicles. The Cyclops. The Cyclops is the most popular and reliable deep-sea submersible in the galaxy. By comparison to the competition, it can be crewed by just one pilot, hence the name. It features 3-speed manual piloting controls for forward observation deck and precision maneuvering, dry dock for transportation, maintenance, and recharging of scouting vehicles, aka a Seamoth, possibly, or a prawn suit, extensive storage solutions in the keel hold section, internal and external video feeds, onboard AI for threat detection, extensive customization options. Advice for captains: higher speeds generate additional noise which may attract undesired attention. Power consumption: engine off 0%, slow 25%, standard 50%, or flank 100%. Silent running mode may be activated in conjunction with any speed setting to reduce noise close to zero at a substantial additional power cost. Cyclops upgrades may be fabricated at the terminal in the engine room and installed at the neighboring panel. Top speed is 8 meters per second, acceleration 3 meters per second. Power is replaceable power cells. That thing is massive, and it can house 1 to 6 people. The Cyclops does not feature habitation quarters. It is recommended the captain draw up a rota to decide who gets to sleep in the corridor each night. Automatic fire suppression, hull damage, and high speeds increase fire risk, and emergency ballast. In the event of full system failure, this vehicle will sink. That does not sound good. But alright, I'm going to go take a water break, both in real life and the game, and I'll be right back. Mobile Vehicle Bay. I can never say that word right. Mobile Vehicle Bay. The Mobile Vehicle Bay is a deployable station equipped with fabrication drones designed to construct small research and exploration vehicles from raw materials. It is a common tool in almost all industrial, scientific, and colonization operations. Prawn Suit Mark III. The Pressure Reactive Waterproof Nanosuit is a range of mechs designed to protect the pilot from extreme environments. The Mark III is the latest iteration. It has so far only been rolled out by Altera for their own high-value phase gate-related operations. The suit is fully insulated from the outside environment. It has powerful hydraulic limbs that allow for manipulation of objects and powered traversal of the environment. Rear-mounted thrusters provide maneuverability in low-gravity environments, and a range of modifications are available to facilitate resource extraction and enhanced exploration. The prawn suit, it's got you covered. And yeah, so my theory was correct. To facilitate resource extraction, those giant nodes of minerals that we need probably that little drill attachment for on the arm right there, that's probably what we need to harvest those. Cool. And the Sea Glide. The Sea Glide is a personal transportation device designed for use in oceanic environments. It's capable of speeds up to 36 kilometers per hour in standing water, displays basic topographical data for aid in charting cave systems. It's got a replaceable battery, and you should keep your fingers clear of the propeller. The Sea Glide. Anything that moves faster underwater is probably trying to eat you. Sea Moth. The Sea Moth is a one-person vehicle with an independent replaceable power cell fitted in the rear and a fully customizable design. Low-power, multi-directional thrusters enable it to function equally well in sea or space environments. Most long-range vessels carry at least 2 vehicles of this class to facilitate the exploration and exploitation of small astronomical bodies. However, they can also be fabricated at a standard mobile vehicle bay. It's got a top speed of 13 meters per second, acceleration 5 meters per second, distance per power cell 10 kilometers, crush depth 200 meters below sea level, or as of last episode, 900. Upgrade module slots 4, dimensions 3 by 1.5 by 1, and it can house 1 person. Sea Moths may be modified by installing upgrade modules to the access point mounted on the wing. These include increased cargo storage, superior power, pressure and collision compensation, enhanced sonar, and defensive capabilities. These modules may only be manufactured at a moon pool outfitted with a vehicle modification station. The Sea Moth. It goes anywhere but land. And last but not least for vehicles, the Vehicle Upgrade Console. This terminal allows vehicles to be customized with different naming and color schemes and upgrade modules. Must be installed in a compatible moon pool module. Upgrades may be constructed at the dedicated fabricator, and upgrades include additional defensive capabilities, scanning equipment, and storage. Oh, and that takes care of blueprints. Now for data downloads, which is probably one of the more dense ones. Oh my goodness, yes. Actually, we're gonna skip some of this stuff. This is all alien stuff. We went over all of this pretty in depth when we did our alien base exploration. And these crew logs, I don't feel like rereading, so we're gonna skip that too. And we're gonna skip these. We're not gonna do everything, I guess. All these voice logs, we're not gonna listen to again, either. The Degassi survivors. Although those were pretty cool. Operational logs. These I don't remember. Drive core shielding breach. The Aurora's drive core is shielded by a thick metal shell, which breached in multiple locations shortly after the crash. Once breached, it will continue to leak radiation into the surrounding environment until the breaches are sealed. After that point, the radiation in the environment will dissipate over time. This procedure should only be attempted with appropriate radiation protection and a fully charged repair tool. Okay, I do remember reading that now, and then I remember finding this in the Sea Moth Bay, or whatever it was called. But these, I don't think we've read many of these. So the Altera Alms pamphlet, which we found in last episode, or the one before that? Pretty recently, though. Charity is an archaic concept which the realism of today's Alterans has rendered obsolete. We understand that we are each responsible for ourselves, but the best way to get the most for ourselves is to work together with Altera. The implication of this reasoning is clear. If someone is in need, they must find a way to be needed. Altera Alms is a training academy for those that need to be needed. We're not a charity because we don't ask for handouts. We prefer to think of ourselves as a philanthropic beneficence facilitation service promoting synergy between employer and workforce. AA operates on a lottery system. By investing any number of credits, you will be entered into our prize draw. Larger investments yield higher chances of winning. Your credits will go towards training unskilled colonists in vital tasks such as maintenance and interpersonal skills. The colonists receive this training voluntarily and free of charge, on condition of a minimum contract with one of our investors on completion of their training. Altera launches the Aurora. Phase gate announced for the Iridian arm. Altera launches the Aurora. The furthest reaches of inhabited space are due to expand as Altera Corp launches a newly constructed capital ship carrying a phase gate bound for the Iridian arm. The Aurora will travel from a space dock on the edge of Altera space, making hundreds of consecutive phase gate jumps through 9 different Transgov authorities, and arrive on the far side of the Iridian arm in 3 months' time. From there, the command crew will pilot the ship beyond the final phase gate, arriving in the next solar system approximately 18 months later. There, the elite team of engineers will begin a 6-month construction project on the new phase gate, a multi-trillion credit investment. In the absence of existing infrastructure in the region, the vessel is equipped with advanced thermal and nuclear power facilities. Altera Corp currently operates 9% of all phase gates in the galaxy. If the Aurora's mission is successful, Altera will have outmaneuvered a cabal of Mongolian corporations, operating a range of outposts and mines in the region. Cool, so they're basically setting up warp gates to phase gates from one area of space to the next, so they can jump through space. And they were trying to set up a new one, and it looks like they got shut down by this alien AA gun or whatever. Transgov Profile, Altera Corp, one of the largest suppliers of spacefaring technologies and consumer electronics in the Federation. It's the official supplier of the TSF. It's consistently ranked among the galaxy's best employers, began life as a defense manufacturer in the mid-22nd century, and its national motto, get what you deserve. Although most Transgovs can trace their roots back to Earth, Altera, literally meaning by Earth, is the only one brazen enough to take its name. During the expansion, Altera supplied arms to all sides, acquiring and housing a vast colonist workforce and making the transition from manufacturer to corporate state. Altera's threat to cease trade was one of the turning points in the conflict, bringing about the end of hostilities and the signing of the Charter. Free enterprise with Altera Space is encouraged, but competition is tight, and all goods exported off-world must be Altera branded. Profitable businesses are bought out by the state, owners ascending to the board of directors. Well-known Altera technologies like the Cyclops submersible originated with such private enterprises. Despite superficial similarities to national governments, the corporation's lawyers have always maintained that it has no legal obligation to its employees, but voluntarily elects to take on the roles usually served by a democratically elected government. This claim has not yet been tested in Federation courts. Altera sounds awesome and like a total jerk at the same time. Alright, that does it for data downloads. Moving on to geological data. 4546b environment scan. Category 3 ocean planet, oxygen, nitrogen atmosphere, and extensive biodiversity. This is the planet we're on, by the way. Safety warnings. May support Leviathan-class predators, which we found out to be true. Water contaminated with high levels of foreign bacteria, which we've also found to be true. And the planet is beyond Federation space. Rescue is unlikely. Also true. It is not recommended to explore this environment without hazardous materials suits and extensive support apparatus. Limestone outcrops. These unusual geological structures often form around titanium and copper deposits and are distinct to this planet. Closer analysis reveals the stone around the metal has been hardened against erosion, but the mechanism remains unknown. Assessment: titanium and copper source. Magnetite is an iron oxide valued for its magnetic potential amongst other qualities. It is used in many Federation technologies, including sonar and torpedo systems. Its assessment is it is essential for advanced fabrication. The ruby is a hard, blood-red gemstone made of aluminum oxide. Rubies may be processed in order to leverage their structural integrity in advanced vehicle construction and modification, which we did last episode to make our depth modules. It's essential for advanced fabrication as well. Sandstone outcrops. These common porous outcrops seem to form around small amounts of precious metals, or otherwise these metals are part of a sedimentary buildup over time. Assessment: lead, silver, and gold source. Scattered wreckage. Analysis confirms this wreckage is from the Aurora. Outer layers of the material have oxidized, suggesting it has been heated to over 1200 degrees Celsius. This pattern is consistent with hull disintegration during atmospheric entry. Salvage of intact portions of Altera vessels is prohibited at legal, moral, and technical levels. However, scraps such as these may be reclaimed for their titanium content at any Altera fabricator. Shale outcrops. This sedimentary rock is formed from flakes of clay minerals, inside of which rare metals such as lithium can be found. Geological conditions on this planet mean it tends to be found in deeper biomes. Assessment: gold, lithium, and diamond source. And uraninite. I gotta find a better way to say that. Uraninite. Yeah. Uraninite? Uraninite? Yeah, sure. Uraninite is a naturally occurring uranium oxide, highly radioactive and unstable. Its primary use is in the production of uranium reactor rods for nuclear generators. Assessment: applications in nuclear power. Very cool. Oh boy. And we're going to skip indigenous life forms. Save this one for last. The survival package. 2-berth emergency life pod. Hey, that's number 5. That's the one we escaped in. 2-berth emergency life pod. Standard features: short-range radio, a wall-mounted fabricator for survival equipment manufacturer and for rendering organic substances edible, a medkit fabricator, onboard air brake and flotation devices for land, sea, or space recovery, 3 solar power cells, and emergency exits in the floor and roof. Standard provisions: 2 all-environment protection suits, 2 ready-to-eat nutrient blocks, 2 drinking water provisions, 1 emergency medkit, and 2 emergency flares. Some life pods may be equipped with different supplies, such as radiation suits or replacement parts. Board the right life pod for the right situation. That sounds like a horrible idea. What if you get on the wrong one? All-environment protection suit. This is our basic one that we started with, I'm pretty sure. The Altera AEP suit, a single solution for a universe of infinite danger. You are currently wearing the AEP suit, a hermetically sealed personal environment designed to withstand the most extreme conditions in the known universe. Onboard temperature and hydration regulation, compatible with a range of attachments, slimline build for maximum freedom of movement, biometric sensors, and a contextual heads-up display. AEP suits should always be equipped before LifePod launch in case of hull breach. The Aurora ship status. Ship class: Altera long-range capital ship. Its mission was the Adrian Arm phase gate installation, a 3-year operation. Crew: there was a command team of 23, an engineering team of 85, 40 support crew, and 9 passengers. Status: it sustained heavy damage in orbit of planet 4546b. The cause was unknown, and evacuation data is unavailable. The engineering section: Dark Matter Ion Drive Core V8, Manned Robotics Suite, Advanced Scanner Suite. Maybe I can find the rest of the scanner room here. Long-range communications relay, not delay, and 0.25 cubic kilometers storage for phase gate apparatus. Habitation section: accommodation for 150 people, multiple canteens serving healthy, fresh, and rehydrated food, leisure facilities including VR suite and virtual cinema. We don't need to read the start here. We've already done all that. Cool. And let's take a look at our time capsules and then get into our indigenous life forms. So these are all the ones we found. I actually found a couple off camera, so these might look slightly different than what you guys have seen. Lava base comes with indoor heated pool. Survival capsule: whenever you find yourself doubting how far you can go, just remember how far you have come. Remember everything you have faced, all the battles you have won, and all the fears you have overcome. That's really cool. That's a really cool poster. Thank you. Cheers to a wonderful game and a wonderful experience. Love from Denver, Colorado, USA. Really neat. That's cool looking. The last day. After a month of surviving on 4546b, I finally have a way to leave this desert of sea. I might just miss this place. There is dry land. Don't give up. In the end, I found I did not need these. Perhaps you can make better use of them. Oh boy. Alright, indigenous life forms. I'm gonna go take one more water break and we'll finish off with that. Alright, last but not least, let's get into the indigenous life forms. This is gonna be dense, but probably the most informative section of all of this. Alright, brain coral, a permanent growing colony of microscopic organisms. This coral species has adapted to filter carbon dioxide from the environment, using the carbon to build the colony and expelling the oxygen from specialized exhaust funnels. It is quite hardy, suggesting samples from a mature specimen could be grown artificially. That's good to know. Assessment. Air tanks are equipped to siphon oxygen from the water where possible. Coral shell plate. This variant of coral has adapted to survive in close proximity to other corals, filtering nutrients from the water and sharing them via a spore-like substance which grows around the base. Assessment. No practical applications discovered. Giant coral tubes. The variety of coral formations on 4546b appear to be different solutions to the same problem of maximizing water and nutrient flow throughout the colony. These particular variants funnel water down a tube, filtering nutrients as they pass. Their size suggests they have been highly successful. Assessment. Coral tube samples are rich in calcium, exploitable in bleach fabrication. Table coral. Each disc is an individual colony of microorganisms filtering nutrients from the water. Growth patterns indicate the colonies are in direct competition for positions with superior current or light. Unlike other coral species, its structure is malleable, softly pulsating as it pumps nutrients to its extremities and only turning rigid when it senses physical assault. The jewel-like nodes in the surface are concentrated buildups of rare minerals the coral is unable to process. Assessment. Exploitable in computer chip fabrication, which we've done quite a few of. That's it for coral. Fauna, quite a few of these. Carnivores. Biter. Vicious pack hunting predator. 94% muscle, 4% connective tissue, 2% brain. Indiscriminate when hungry, almost always hungry. Number 1. Specialized olfactory antenna. Employed in detection of bodily fluids in the water at impressive range. 2. Secondary pair of eyes. Likely dedicated to detecting the peripheral movement of large predators and hungry members of its own species. And 3. It's got an overdeveloped tail fin. Favors outpacing and outnumbering their prey over individual maneuverability. Calculations suggest creatures up to 100 times the biter's body weight could succumb to a focused assault by a pack of 10. Assessment. Avoid packs. Try not to bleed. Crashfish. Oh, I forgot the names of these things. This unusual species has developed an emergency defense mechanism based on mutually assured destruction. It's got a forward-mounted eye, enables the creature to identify and track potential predators. Sulfur plant. The sulfur plant has evolved to feed on sulfuric compounds secreted by the crashfish, which makes its nest within its leaves. Stronger, more protective plants provide superior nesting grounds, which in turn provide the plant with more nutrients from larger crashfish. And it's got a defense mechanism. Concentrations of sulfur build up in the organism over time. If the crashfish collides with something at sufficient speed, the spikes on its torso are impacted, triggering an explosive chemical reaction. Assessment. Equip stasis rifle, repulsion cannon, or similar before approaching shallow caves. So knifing them, like we've tried to do, clearly does not do anything. And the stalker, which we know and love, a streamlined predator encountered in the kelp forests, in weight of prey, leaving the safety of the shallows to feed. The stalker likely carved out its evolutionary niche at the sweet spot between speed and size millions of years ago, and may be one of the oldest species on the planet. The stalker appears to be attracted to titanium deposits, which tends to sharpen and put stress on its teeth. And put stress, hence why we get stalker teeth from when they eat titanium. Cool. As with many predators, it is possible to temporarily distract hungry stalkers by feeding them. Teeth. The stalker's teeth are unusually hard and fast-growing. Its elongated snout can deliver huge biting pressure to larger attackers while also being used to reach small herbivores seeking refuge amongst the rocks. Its night vision. Retinal layering on the eyeball suggests adaptation for nighttime hunting. The dorsal ridges? These ridges can be moved independently to deliver superior maneuverability. And the pelvic fins. Long and powerful, the stalker has evolved to hunt the fastest of prey. Assessment: stalker teeth have many applications, or may have applications in enameled glass fabrication, which we've already done. Stalker teeth. Extended analysis of acquired dental samples has been completed. Samples matched to species designated stalker. Stalker teeth exhibit extraordinary lightness and strength and contain only trace amounts of calcium. The edges show sign of wear and are studded with metal flakes, providing evidence that the stalkers chew on metal deposits in order to sharpen their teeth. Assessment: applications as a natural substrate in enameled glass fabrication. We know that. And the warper. An aggressive creature with the ability to teleport itself and others in space. No genetic crossover identified with indigenous life forms. Demonstrates no recognized defensive behavior. Its head has mechanisms located in the head region to provide its warping capability, which it uses to stalk its target. Torso appears to hunt other life forms, but no digestive organs have been identified. Internal structure considerably more complex than other known organisms. Unable to distinguish whether organic or artificial in nature. Assessment: further research required. Oh, this is getting hard to read all this stuff. Herbivores, large. The gasopod, a slow-moving life form, and one of the larger herbivores on the planet. Providing a substantial meal to would-be predators, the gasopod protects its domain by filling the surrounding water with poisonous and corrosive pods whose contents dissolve even synthetic fibers. Filtration system. Thick, non-reactive skin and multiple gill layers renders this creature impervious to the noxious acid clouds it produces. Algae gland, a bulbous sac-like appendage on the rear end. A luminescent yellow algae grows inside the sac and produces the poisonous compound. Abdominal muscles can contract, causing the algae gland to emit the noxious compound into the surrounding water. That's kind of cool. Large pelvic fins, capable of powerful movement through the water when moving in small herds. Behavior: gasopods appear to be social in nature and may even use their emissions in their relationship rituals. Their audible calls are likely signifiers of nearby threats or food sources. Assessment: approach with caution. Acidic pods may be retrieved and repurposed. I think those are actually used in the production of gas torpedoes, or whatever they're called. We'll get into that eventually. Not soon, though. The rabbit ray. This is a large herbivore? I didn't know that. A herbivorous aquatic life form, rabbit rays appear to live serene and solitary lives with few predators, a natural sense of curiosity, and awesomely poisonous flesh. Ears. Twin orange appendages mounted on the head sense vibration in the water. I don't think I ever saw those. Undulating wings. Markedly similar method of transportation to that of Earth rays. Zero genetic resemblance detected, suggesting these two species independently developed similar solutions to their environmental circumstances. Evidence indicates its large side-facing eyes are relatively recent adaptations. It is likely there are related ray species in other environmental biomes on the planet. I don't think we've seen many of those yet. That'd be cool. Assessment: inedible but harmless. So they're just cute and fun to look at. Ah, yes, we did find one of these when we were near the Aurora, I think. Our first episode trying to find it. The Sky Ray. Sky Ray has a bird-like head and feathered wings which enable it to fly. Sky Rays are commonly found circling floating structures and rarely venture far out to sea. They will perch on dry land but are prone to flee on approach. Wings. Although its wings give it some resemblance in silhouette to the waterborne rays on 4546b, analysis shows no greater genetic overlap with those species than the planetary average. In fact, the Sky Ray appears to have split off the evolutionary tree much earlier than most. Diet is largely seed-based. Sky rays have not been observed diving for food, which implies they rely on land-based plants for their survival. Assessment: presence may indicate nearby dry land. Indicate? Cool. Small herbivores. The bladderfish, which has helped us survive since day one. Thank you, bladderfish. This unusual herbivore appears to be mostly defenseless and bears little resemblance to other life forms around it. It has a semi-permeable bladder. The bladderfish is able to filter air and seawater into its body cavity through a unique membrane which surrounds its spine like a bladder. This allows it to remove and consume organic particulate caught on the way and adjust its buoyancy. It has open-ended vascular tubing, can be angled and contracted to pump out water and achieve low velocity guided propulsion. That's kind of neat. I guess that's how it escapes if I'm chasing after one. It's largely oblivious to threats and practically immobile at night. Its only identified defense mechanism is that it's composed almost entirely of water, air, and cartilage. How is that a defense mechanism? Assessment: edible. Oxygen may be retrieved from the bladder and added to tanks on consumption. So if we just eat one raw, it'll give us oxygen? I didn't know that. Membrane has applications as a natural water filter. Cool, we're learning things. The boomerang, an herbivore encountered in large numbers, found to frequent shallow waters and move in schools. It's got serrated teeth, suggests adaptation for grinding corals other herbivores are unable to digest. Twin fins. Unusually, this species' two fins are a cartilaginous extension of its skeleton. They are less prone to damage and provide superior propulsion, but are also harder to grow back. The bright blue tips are in fact the ends of its digestive tract, where the luminescence of the corals it consumes is most focused. That's really cool. Most active during daylight hours and prone to flee on approach, the boomerang can more easily be observed at night when its luminescence gives it away and it seeks the shelter of the seabed. Assessment: edible. Garyfish. These things are so funny looking. Garyfish, slow-moving and curious herbivore. Camouflage indicates adaptation for evasive behavior on the ocean floor. Eye stalks may be beneficial when watching for predators from hiding places among the coral. Behavior: more active during daylight hours, but slow and docile at all times. The garyfish's survival depends on a combination of camouflage and predators who can get a more filling meal elsewhere. These are also edible. Hoopfish, which I think look pretty awesome. They've got like a handle, basically. Hoopfish, small school mentality prey fish with a unique method of propulsion and a distant relative of the bladderfish. Antennae. Rather than swimming, this life form uses the fine green antennae which encircle its body to alter the composition of the water in front of it, allowing it to sail into the low-density space created. That's really neat. It's got a purple-green coloration, maybe a camouflage adaptation for mid-range light wavelengths, possibly indicating the hoopfish is more active at dawn and dusk. Behavior: while schools of hoopfish will form periodically and evade predators in mass, this behavior is more social than it is defensive, and lone hoopfish are often found hunting for food and displaying generally curious behavior. Those are edible as well. Hoverfish is a small, cautious herbivore commonly found in kelp-rich environments. It's got charged foot pads. 6 unique limb appendages feature charged pads capable of ionizing the surrounding water. The hoverfish uses this ability to maintain its position against the current as it feeds from kelp and lichen. Another edible herbivore, the oculus, which we found in the mushroom biomes, or the mushroom caves. This specimen shares genetic similarities with the common peeper. While the shallows and the cave systems are separated by just a few meters of rock, foodstuffs and threats in each biome are completely different. It is possible a small school of peepers was once cut off in the caves, and the oculus species is how they adapted. They have highly developed night vision. Large, complex eyeballs provide this herbivore superior vision in the dark and an intense phobia of light. It's got a lack of a beak. While the peeper uses its beak to break down tough corals, the oculus likely feeds on the soft fungal growths of the jelly shroom caves and thus has no need of one. And it's got a separated tail fin. The caves in which the oculus lives make it hard to escape from fast predators. The oculus has adapted by splitting its tail fin into 5 separate tendrils. These tendrils prevent it from swimming as fast as its shallow water cousin. as its shallow water cousin, but each can be detached and regrown, enabling it to escape more easily when caught. Also edible? Peepers, which are so cute. Peeper, a fast prey fish encountered in shallow waters and rich in protein. Developed side-facing eyes, capable of discerning colors not just in the shallow waters, but in a variety of lighting conditions. It is also able to close its eyelids, thus preventing light from reflecting off the lenses and rendering the peeper almost invisible to nighttime predators. Powerful fins. This species has evolved powerful fins which enable rapid acceleration in still water, and the ability to leap meters into the air to avoid pursuers. I've seen that a couple times. The beak, likely used to break down corals and tough vegetation. An unusually large nasal cavity serves no obvious purpose and appears to be specially evolved to detect a single specific enzyme. Nothing encountered on the planet so far produces a matching odor. Expulsion tubes. The tubes attached to the peeper's torso are connected directly to its stomach and gills and appear to be designed to expel its contents on demand. Purpose unclear. While the peeper is well adapted to survive in shallow waters, a number of its features serve no discernible purpose. It would appear to be just as well suited to survive in deeper waters and is somewhat more intelligent than the usual small herbivore. Assessment edible, high calorie count, further research required. And Reginald, which is already named, which is kind of strange. Reginald, a small herbivore and a distant relative of the common peeper, sharing that the species' well-developed side-facing eyes, approximate size, and body profile. Coloration, dull green coloration for deep water camouflage. Luminescent tail coloration, likely part of mating behavior. And its diet, it filters algae and other plant material from the water via 4 gill-like forward-facing orifices, which are right there. Assessment edible, and it has a high calorie count. And last but not least on the herbivores, the spadefish, which I did not realize had an eye on the top of its head. Spadefish, a medium-sized herbivore found in deeper waters. It's got a single eye, observed swimming near to the seabed from where it can keep its one eye on predators in the water above it. It's got a mottled green coloration. Commonly encountered in plant-rich environments, the spadefish is well adapted to hide amongst the vegetation. And the behavior, spadefish tend to move in loose shoals, and despite their low speed, will take necessary measures to avoid confirmed predators. Again, edible. Oh, we're so close. Leviathans? Reefback leviathan. I didn't know this was classified as a leviathan. I guess it makes sense though, because those things are massive. Reefback leviathan. This vast life form is in excess of 30 meters long and has been designated Leviathan class. Fortunately, it feeds exclusively on plankton-like life forms in the water. It's got a chitinous shell. Most of the life form's topside and some of its underside is protected by a thick, layered exoskeleton. This suggests an evolutionary path quite different from other organisms on 4546b, most of which are vertebrate in nature. The reefback species has likely been able to grow far larger than other herbivores because anything large enough to break through its shell has long since gone extinct. Enzyme pods. Similar in appearance to the algae glands of the gasopod, these organisms on the reefback's underside serve some unknown purpose in its digestive system and are capable of expelling small quantities of stomach enzymes into the surrounding waters. It's a local microorganism. An array of different barnacle and plant species grow on the reefback's shell, thrusting their roots into ancient scars on the chitin and taking advantage of their mobility to avoid predation. Nonetheless, reefbacks will often be pursued by the faster, hungrier herbivores, and thus this leviathan species is a mobile microcosm worthy of years of study in itself. The life cycle. Reefbacks' lifespans likely extend through many centuries, should they survive their initial growth cycle. For the first few decades, their smaller size would make them vulnerable to carnivorous leviathans. Sociable, seen traveling in small pods and communicating by an echoing call, behavior is consistent with low-level sentience. Assessment harbors plants, small fish, and metal-rich barnacles. Very cool. All right, and last but not least of our fauna are our scavengers and parasites. We've got the floaters, which are the little things that are found on floating rocks throughout the water. An ancient floater. Biodata suggests these vast floaters have matured in an ingenious symbiosis with the land they are attached to. The attached landmass... Oh, just kidding. This one, the ancient floater, was the one that we found on the underside of that island. We've recently read this. Yeah, we're not going to read that. Bleeder. A simple parasitic organism, little more complex than the common space tick, but just as dirty. It's got a ductile sac used for collection and digestion of blood drawn from host creatures. The jaw has rows of teeth and mandibles used to attach to the skin of its victims. And behavior. The bleeder's low speed and poor defenses suggest they have evolved primarily as carrion feeders, but they are also prone to target larger living creatures, which are less likely to notice and take action against this parasite. Assessment: inconvenient and unhygienic. Avoid or incapacitate. Cave crawlers. I hate these things. Agile, territorial carrion feeder, well adapted to both land and sea. Gas exchange membrane, absorbs essential gases from the air or water for basic body regulation. Mandibles. This species seeks out corpses in packs before defending its claim while the corpse is devoured. Assessment: necessary waste recycle, avoid or incapacitate. The floater, these are the ones that we find on the small rocks. Two species living in symbiosis, which attach and attempt to feed on any objects they come into contact with. Dominant life form. The pink main body and intersection jaw is the dominant creature. Once attached to an organism or other stable surface, it will attempt to leach nutrients in order to grow. Microorganism membrane. The outer gel-like substance is a mesh of microorganisms capable of forming a sealed vacuum around the creature's jaws. It's got a helium buffer. A thin layer of helium is stored within the outer membrane, providing buoyancy to the floater and anything it is attached to. That explains why the rocks float. May aid in flotation of sunken objects. That's interesting. Rock grub. These are the real tiny things we found real close by. A small luminescent scavenger, roughly thumb-sized. This creature may be a distant relative of the land shark, sharing that species' unusual limbs, segmented exoskeleton, and burrowing behavior. Jaw, its circular set of teeth, is designed to tear up clumps of coral and seagrass caught on the rocks. Its limbs has 5 legs, 2 arms, and a large flipper, allow the rock grub to cling to and walk across rock faces in search of food and swiftly swim to safety when under attack. The green luminescence. Glowing green in the dark would seem like a poor survival strategy, but this adaptation may be a mating behavior or other specialized process, engaged in by only a fraction of the total population at any one time, or perhaps being eaten is simply part of the rock grub's life cycle. Assessment: harmless. And last but not least, the shuttlebug. That thing is creepy looking. Shuttlebug, a common scavenger at the base of the food chain. Mouthparts, small enough to be of little threat to most organisms. This creature is clearly adapted to feed on the waste products of the ecosystem around it. It has 3 mandibles, used to orient themselves when drifting and to filter through detritus on cave floors. Also has 3 legs. High-strength muscle can propel the life form great distances through the water, as well as ambulating them across the sea floor. Assessment: necessary waste recycle. Presence may indicate nearby cave systems. Yes, we always see those in caves. All right, it is time for my last water break, and water break for me as well, and I'll see you guys in a sec. All right, last but not least, flora. Acid mushroom. A common spore-bearing fungi species, the flesh contains a highly acidic compound which leaches into the water if the outer skin is penetrated. It is not clear which predator species necessitated such extreme countermeasures, but the acid mushroom's numbers suggest it has successfully deterred most of them. Assessment: inedible. Acid has applications in battery fabrication. The bulbo tree. A bulb-based flora which roots to the ground and sprouts turquoise leaves. Analysis suggests the sap produced by this plant is poisonous to insects, but can be harvested and consumed by humans for its high water content. Assessment: edible, high water content. Chinese potato plant. The Chinese potato is common throughout the China territories where synthetic foods are still stigmatized, and there remain large tracts of arable land on which to grow fresh produce. Genetically designed prior to the expansion, this plant is highly adaptable to different environments and a staple of new colonies galaxy-wide. It's also edible. Creepvine, a kelp species concentrated in large forests in shallow, sandy waters. Loose roots anchor the plant to the seafloor, from where it grows steadily towards the surface in pursuit of sunlight. The stem is fibrous and rich in iron, making it both a viable base material for fabrication of textiles as well as a basic foodstuff. Assessment: vital alien resource, edible, and construction applications. Creepvine seeds. Mature creepvine plants that have survived the predation of small herbivores produce these bioluminescent seed clusters, which may be knocked loose by currents or consumed and later deposited by predators. The embryo is surrounded by a thick oil and silicone layer, which would disperse into the ground as the outer skin deteriorated. This may provide the seedling with the nutrients it needs to survive the low light conditions on the seabed. Assessment: vital alien resource, construction applications. Mostly in lubricant. There we go. Gel sac. These organic structures grow on cave walls. The purple sacs, which arise from the surface, contain a low-density gel laced with spores. These burst from time to time, floating towards the surface and attaching onto the next rock face they encounter. While the gel sac is edible, its low density renders it an invaluable advanced construction material. Assessment: edible and aerogel construction applications. Lantern tree, a conglomeration of individual vines which rely on one another for structural support. Grows exclusively on fertile land. Each vine produces orange, lantern-shaped fruits with minimal nutrition and hydration value. Assessment: edible in an emergency. Marble melon plant. This plant collects water from the air rather than relying on its root system and produces large, fleshy fruits which are both edible and have atypically high water content. Assessment: edible, high water content. And lastly, sulfur plant. These plants appear to serve as nests for the explosive organisms which guard them. The outer petals are undamaged by the presence of the inhabiting creature, suggesting a complex co-development. The plant has evolved to feed on nutrients and minerals deposited within it by the fish. Sulfuric deposits on the inner leaves provide an insight into the mechanism by which the creatures explode. Assessment: sulfur has applications in the construction of the repair tool. I don't think we've seen anything else that actually requires sulfur. Alright, now for our land plants. Fern palm. This specimen was first identified in an artificial grow bed on the island. It is not listed in existing flora databases, so it is unclear whether or not it is native to this planet. Genetic code shares some features with other local plant life, but this may be the result of DNA transfusion rather than natural evolution. Grub basket. An orange-colored land plant which usually contains a thick, protein-rich sludge at its base. This may suggest a carnivorous life cycle wherein grubs and insects are attracted to the bright petals, make their way to the center of the plant, but are unable to scale back up the slick inner leaves and are ultimately digested. Jaffa cup. A common land fungus found in clusters. Grows quickly, size is limited only by available nutrients and space. Ming plant. A hardy specimen which grows on land. The vase-like trunk protects the root system from predation and self-repairs over time, explaining the characteristic cracks on the side. Pink cap. A land-based fungus species with harvestable spores. Inedible. Speckled rattler. A brittle land plant containing large spores which generate a characteristic rattle when the plant is shaken. This may act to ward off predators or even encourage predation as a means of spreading the spores. Voxel shrub. A pink-leafed plant with an angular appearance which grows exclusively on land. Oh, and our last category are the sea plants. Blue palm. The blue palm is a common aquatic plant which thrives in shallower waters with high exposure to sunlight. Long fronds intercept light before it can reach the smaller flora on the seabed. Cave bush. a purple luminescent species which grows well on hardy terrain away from sunlight. Drooping stinger. 0 photosynthetic cells detected, implies carnivorous adaptation to low light environments. Its follicles along the tentacles are capable of detecting contact with foreign bodies, triggering an electromagnetic charge in the 600 watt range. Prey is likely paralyzed and consumed over many weeks. Prey, small fish, assessment, avoid. Eye stalk, a cave-dwelling tuber dotted with luminescent photosensitive eyes. These eyes may in some way direct the twisted growth of the stems themselves, possibly in reaction to other light sources, proximity of cave walls, and other environmental conditions. Furled papyrus. The function of the distinctive curled leaves on this aquatic plant is not immediately clear. It is possible the leaves unfurl in low light conditions, or that they are designed to channel water currents through the main body of the plant, thus enhancing nutrient take-up. Gabe's feather. This plant grows almost exclusively in deeper waters, where its hand-like leaves have evolved to filter sediment from the environment. It is likely dependent on the excretions of fauna populating the waters above and around it. Ghostweed. Grows exclusively in deep waters where its pale pigmentation is visible on the fewest wavelengths. Jelly shroom. A life form unique to a microcosm located in a cave system deep within the grassy plateaus, where a high concentration of carnivorous life forms wards off smaller predators. Consists of a tough, trunk-like base from which grows a fragile purple membrane. Membrane structure suggests vulnerability to predation, but evidence thereof is lacking. Unknown defense mechanisms, and possible symbiotic relationship. Predators none identified. Yeah, it's because it has the little worms living inside of them. Redwort. A common plant adaptable to many different environments, the redwort is a staple plant of the diet of many smaller herbivores. Regress shell. This specimen is composed of a complex series of regressing rings connected by tendrils. Rough cradle. A complex cave-dwelling flora specimen. The bright yellow core of this plant is protected by a rigid cage, presumably to ward off medium-sized herbivores. Spiked-horn grass. While it shares a close genetic similarity with bloodgrass, this species has evolved to house its root system in rigid, horn-shaped enclosures. Tiger plant. This plant has adapted to sense fluctuations in the water at up to 15 meters, and is capable both of prehensile movement of its tubes, as well as the propelling of thorns at speeds of up to 10 meters per second. Although capable of incapacitating small herbivores, this plant lacks carnivorous digestive organs. Would-be predators caught in its defensive perimeter serve as a warning to other herbivores not to approach, and then as they decompose, they serve as fertilizer for the tiger plant. Assessment: avoid or incapacitate. Veined nettle. A common shallow water plant which frequently shows signs of predation around the edges of the leaves. Thick violet veins carry nutrients to the extremities of the fan, and brightly colored seeds grow around the base and stem. Violet bow. A common luminescent plant which grows in patches on the seabed. And last but not least, writhing weed, which doesn't even have a photo. Well adapted to both shallow waters and cave systems, this plant lives in symbiosis with a coral species which forms around the base of the stems. We're done. I don't want to ever have to do another one of those again. We're going to do a much better job of keeping up with everything, so we don't have to do that, because that was honestly kind of painful on the throat. I actually had to record that over 2 days because it took so long I ran out of time and had to go to work. But alright guys, that's going to do it for this one. I hope you not enjoyed, but I hope you feel educated after that. That's going to do it though. Thank you very much for watching / listening. If you even made it through this far, thank you for those of you that did. I will see you in the next one, and until then, as always, take care.